Millionaire hears his adopted black daughter scream when he arrives home. What he sees leaves him shocked. Pause. Imagine coming home to find your child in tears, attacked in your own house. This is the story that will grip your heart, so stay with us. You're nothing but a pathetic charity project. Children like you don't belong in houses like this. The shrill voice of housekeeper Helena Winters cut through the silence of the Morrison mansion like a razor. Marcus stopped in the main hall, the keys to his Mercedes still trembling in his hand. He had just returned from a meeting in New York, bringing a special gift for Isabella, his 8-year-old adopted daughter. "I just wanted to call Daddy." Isabella's small, broken voice made Marcus drop his Italian suitcase on the marble floor with a thud. Pause. Can you imagine the rage of a father hearing his daughter beg in her own home? Keep watching to see how this unfolds on Black Voices. At 42, Marcus had built a technology empire worth $200 million. He had destroyed ruthless competitors and corrupt politicians in court. But nothing had prepared him for that sound. His daughter begging in his own home. He climbed the stairs 3 at a time, each step feeding an icy fury he recognized from his worst moments in business. Isabella's bedroom door was ajar, revealing a scene that burned itself into his retina. Isabella was curled up on the bed, hugging her worn teddy bear, tears streaming down her face, which she tried to hide behind her curls. Standing before her was Helena, the British governess who had worked for his family for 5 years, her arms crossed and wearing an expression of contempt Marcus had never imagined possible. "Your father adopted you out of pity, child, to look modern and inclusive to the media. Soon he'll tire of this charade, and you'll go back to where you really belong, a filthy orphanage." The world stopped. Marcus felt something dark and calculating awaken in his chest. The same coldness he had used to destroy businessmen who had tried to betray him. But this time, it was different. This time, it was personal. "Get out now." His voice cut through the air like a death sentence. Helena turned, her face draining of color when she saw him standing in the doorway. "Mr. Morrison, I didn't know you were home. I was just disciplining the girl." Disciplining. Marcus entered the room with measured steps, like a predator circling its prey, repeating those exact words. "To my daughter constitutes discipline?" Her daughter. Helena stammered, noticing for the first time the deadly expression on her boss's face. Marcus knelt before Isabella, who threw herself into his arms in despair. "Daddy," she said, "you don't really love me." "That's a lie, my love. A cruel lie." He hugged her tightly, but his eyes remained fixed on Helena. "Get your things and get off my property now." Helena tried to protest, but something in Marcus' gaze made her back away. She left with her head down, unaware that she had just awakened something very dangerous in a man who did not forgive betrayal. While comforting Isabella, Marcus made a silent decision. Helena Winters had made the biggest mistake of her life. And he would make sure she never forgot the consequences of mistreating his daughter. That night, after Isabella fell asleep, Marcus sat in his office with a glass of bourbon and a cold smile. Helena had no idea who she had chosen as her enemy. If you're wondering how a billionaire can turn someone's life into a personal hell, don't forget to subscribe to Black Voices, because the revenge Marcus has in store will change your perspective on justice forever. 3 days after firing Helena, Marcus discovered that firing the housekeeper had been just the beginning of his problems. His cell phone rang at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was the principal of Isabella's school. "Mr. Morrison, I need to speak with you urgently." Someone called the school board making serious allegations about Isabella's home environment. Marcus' blood ran cold. What kind of accusations? Allegations of neglect, an unsuitable environment for a child. The person said that Isabella was being traumatized at home and that you weren't prepared to be the father of a black child. Marcus clenched his fists. Helena was striking back, and she had chosen the cruelest target possible. The school where Isabella finally felt accepted and safe. "Dr. Morrison." The principal's voice brought him back. "We'll have to do a home visit this week. It's protocol when we receive this kind of complaint." As he hung up, Marcus felt a familiar rage rising in his chest. It was the same controlled anger that had driven him when, at 16, he watched his father get fired unfairly from a factory where he had worked for 20 years. The reason? The new manager wanted to modernize the team by hiring more presentable people to impress customers. At the time, Marcus had sworn he would never be that vulnerable. He had studied 16 hours a day, earned a full scholarship to MIT, and built a company that devoured competitors like sharks. But now, for the first time in decades, he felt cornered again. Isabella came down to breakfast wearing the new dress he had bought her, yellow with sunflowers, her favorite color. "Why do you look angry, Daddy?" "I'm not angry, sweetheart. Just thinking about work." He forced a smile, but inside he was calculating every move he would make to destroy Helena Winters completely. The phone rang again. This time it was his accountant. "Marcus, we have a problem. Someone has contacted the IRS alleging irregularities in your charitable deductions related to Isabella's adoption. They're going to audit your finances." Marcus hung up and laughed softly, a humorless sound that Isabella recognized as dangerous. Helena was trying to attack his reputation, his paternity, and now his finances. She clearly had no idea who she was up against. That afternoon, while Isabella was at school, Marcus did something he hadn't done in years. He went down to the basement of the mansion where he kept his oldest personal files. He was looking for something specific, a folder he hadn't opened in almost a decade. Inside was the reason he never lost a battle in business: meticulous documentation on every person who worked for him. Helena Winters had signed an extremely strict confidentiality agreement 5 years ago. Any violation would result in penalties that would financially destroy an ordinary person. But that was just the beginning. Marcus called his private investigator, David Chun, the same man who had exposed 3 corrupt senators and a federal judge in the last 2 years. "David, I need everything on Helena Winters. Employment history, previous references, financial records, social media posts, everything. And I want to know about every family she's ever worked for." "How long do I have?" 48 hours. 2 nights later, David arrived at the mansion with a folder full of information that made Marcus smile for the first time in days. Helena Winters wasn't just a vicious racist. She was a vicious racist with a past that would destroy her publicly. As he leafed through the documents, Marcus thought of Isabella sleeping peacefully upstairs, unaware that her father was about to turn her nightmare into poetic justice. Helena had made the fatal mistake of underestimating a man who had spent his entire life turning personal attacks into devastating victories. Every new humiliation Helena tried to inflict only fed something inside him that she couldn't see. A silent strength fueled by the very injustice she sought to impose. What that arrogant housekeeper didn't know was that every act of contempt was writing her own sentence of defeat, and Marcus Morrison always collected his debts with compound interest. David Chen's report was a ticking time bomb of devastating information. Helena Winters had worked for 7 wealthy families over the past 15 years, and in each one, there was a disturbing pattern that repeated itself like a sinister signature. "Look at this, Marcus," David said, pointing to a series of documents. The Rodriguez family in Los Angeles. They had a Chinese adopted daughter. Helena worked there for 2 years until she was fired for cultural incompatibility. The girl developed severe eating disorders. Marcus flipped through the pages, feeling his anger turn into something more dangerous: surgical determination. And the Thompsons, interracial family, black father, white mother, 2 young children. Helena lasted only 8 months. The children began having constant nightmares and refused to be left alone with her. Each case revealed the same pattern. Helena had systematically traumatized black and other ethnic children while behaving like a model employee in front of their parents. She was an emotional predator who specialized in torturing the most vulnerable. But the most shocking discovery was on the last page. Helena Winters kept an anonymous blog called Preserving Traditions, where she regularly posted about the degradation of civilized society and cultural invaders in respectable homes. The posts contained intimate details about the families she had worked for, including photos of the children she had emotionally tortured. Marcus closed the file and called his personal lawyer, Rebecca Stone, the same woman who had destroyed 3 giant corporations in racial discrimination cases over the past 5 years. "Rebecca, I need you here tomorrow morning. I have a case that will greatly interest your sense of justice.